Thank you to the Lexington Children's Community Chorus for that beautiful performance of This Land Is Your Land and America the Beautiful. That is the perfect way to start our ceremony. Good morning and welcome everyone. On behalf of the town of Lexington and the Select Board, I am honored to welcome all of you, all of our distinguished guests, neighbors and friends to the Lexington Battle Green. Today we gather to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington, a momentous day for our town, our Commonwealth, and our nation. We stand on sacred ground where history was made. It is truly inspiring to see so many of you here on this historic morning. As we open the ceremony, we pause to remember the brave souls who gave their lives on this very ground on April 19, 1775. In their honor, we will now lay a commemorative wreath. It is my privilege to invite up Governor Maura Healey, Governor Kim Driscoll, and Congresswoman Catherine Clark to join me in placing a wreath at the Battle Green flagpole in remembrance of the Patriots who fell here at the first battle. Thank you, Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and Congresswoman Clark for honoring our forebears with that wreath. 250 years ago on this very day, on this very green, American militia, the famous Minutemen, stood against the British Army and shed the first blood in defense of American liberty. The shot heard round the world that rang out here in Lexington marked not only the start of the battle, but the birth of a new nation. Ever since that fateful morning, each generation has come together to remember its significance. President Ulysses S. Grant visited Lexington for the centennial in 1875, drawing crowds estimated at 100,000 people. And President Gerald Ford came in 1975 for the bicentennial to honor this hallowed ground. Today, 250 years later, we continue that tradition of remembrance with all of you today. It is a testament to the importance of what happened here that so many have gathered from near and far to commemorate this anniversary with us. We are deeply honored to be joined by guests from around the world and across our nation. This includes delegation from our sister city in Antony, France, reminding us of our international friendships forged by our history. We welcome representatives from nations that shared our revolutionary story and partners from our armed forces who are here with us today to bring history to life. We are also grateful to have so many leaders from our own country, state, and town with us. I would like to take a moment to recognize my colleagues on the Select Board, Joe Pato, Jill Hay, Mark Sandine, and Vanita Kumar, and thank them for their dedication to Lexington. We are joined as well by members of our State House delegation, State Representative Michelle Socolo, State Representative Ken Gordon, State Senator Cindy Friedman, and State Senator Mike Barrett. Thank you all. Thank you all for your support and for being here today. I also would like to take a moment to acknowledge our former Select Board members and other local officials, including our town manager and other representatives from neighboring communities and beyond that are with us. We even have among us descendants of the brave patriots who stood here in 1775, a living link to our past. The representatives from other Lexingtons across the nation who have traveled here, and to many members of our community organizations and volunteer committees, including our Lexington Semiquincentennial Commission, who worked tirelessly to make this day possible. Thank you. Your presence and efforts make this commemoration truly special and reminds us that Lexington's story belongs to all of us. As someone who grew up here in Lexington, this moment is especially meaningful to me. I remember as a child coming to Patriots Day parades down Massachusetts Avenue and waking up before dawn to watch the reenactment of the battle right here on the green, feeling the boom of the muskets and the pride of Lexington's community as we retold our story. I never imagined that one day I would be standing in this spot as chair of the Select Board, honored to speak with you on this 250th anniversary. Lexington history has been the backdrop of our lives. It has been in our core. For 250 years, this simple town, Common, has borne witness to courage and sacrifice, a story of rekindling patriotic spirit, inspiring each generation to strive for a more perfect union. Ordinary citizens who stood on this ground against impossible odds taught each of us what it means to defend freedom and community. This green was just a pasture for cattle and a meeting place for town affairs, but it became the birthplace of American liberty. And it continues to inspire us and the world. But today is not only about looking back in admiration, it's about looking forward with resolve. 50 years ago at the bicentennial in 1975, the citizens of Lexington gathered on this green and rededicated our common and themselves to the common cause of American liberty. They pledged to respect the rights of others, to participate as informed citizens, and to recognize the independence of all nations, so that hard-won freedom born here would never be lost. Now on the Semiquincentennial, it falls on all of us to renew that pledge for our time. We too need to dedicate ourselves to the ideals that were first defended 250 years ago on this ground. So let this be our call to action. Let us honor the heroes of 1775, not only with ceremonies, but with our own lives. Let us teach the children about courage, cooperation, sacrifice, and that are built on freedom, and challenge them. Let us pledge to respect the rights of others, to engage in our democracy as active citizens, and to stand together as a community. In rededicating this battle green today, we rededicate ourselves to these timeless ideals of liberty, equality, and justice that have guided our nation for 2.5 centuries. The spark of liberty that was lit here a long time ago became and remains a flame of patriotism that inspires a new generation to strive for that more perfect union. And may that flame continue to light our way from this day on. Thank you. And now it is my great honor to introduce Congresswoman Catherine Clark. Congresswoman Clark is a dear friend of Lexington and has been a steadfast champion for our community. She represents us in the United States House of Representatives with dedication and heart, always striving to uplift our town and preserve the history and values that we cherish. In addition to serving as a voice in Washington, Catherine Clark is a national leader deeply committed to the ideals of liberty and justice, which we celebrate today. She's worked tirelessly to support our veterans, our families, and our future, and she's been a strong supporter of the efforts to commemorate this 250th anniversary. We are truly honored to have her with us to celebrate this milestone occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and what a privilege it is to mark this day with all of you. What a privilege to join with so many neighbors in celebrating a radical yet simple idea that power is not reserved for royalty, that authority is not the birthright of a few. One of Massachusetts' great revolutionary writers, Mercy Otis Warren, put it this way: the origin of all power is in the people, and they have the incontestable right to check the creatures of their own creation. 250 years ago, a mad king forgot that truth. A global empire forgot that however much power it had amassed, it was still a creature of the people's creation. They forgot until a few Lexington Patriots reminded them. With their courage, their blood, and their faith in certain unalienable rights, they reminded the world that the origin of all power is in its people. And could those patriots have ever imagined what their descendants would find here 250 years later? Could they have imagined that we would be the vanguards of the greatest democracy in human history, the wealthiest, most powerful nation ever? A country that continues to strive to meet its ideals, but that has grown more just and more free over its history. A republic that didn't just repel fascism at home, but defeated it abroad. But Abigail Adams warned us about how deeply power can corrupt. She said, history is not a web woven with innocent hands. Among all the causes which degrade and demoralize men, power is the most constant and most active. And today we see power aiming at our democracy, corrupting what was born here on this battlefield. So we have to ask ourselves, what will our descendants find here 250 years from now? Will they find a failed democracy? A nation for and of a few? Well, let me tell you, not as this Commonwealth of Patriots has anything to say about it. So let us consecrate this round and celebrate the Patriots who fought here and honor the inheritance they gave us by summoning our own courage and tossing the tea of tyrants into our harbor. Because here's the truth of any crossroads in history: no one else is coming to save us. The Patriots of Lexington found their courage by standing together. And from their collective action in defense of freedom and equality, American democracy was born in their trembling hands 250 years ago, and it lives in ours today. So let us be worthy of this inheritance and ensure that our descendants will one day gather on this site and thank God that American democracy can, in fact, long endure. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Clark, for those inspiring words. Now it is my privilege to introduce Rosie Rios, the chair of America 250, the National Commission planning the United States 250th anniversary commemorations. Ms. Rios has an enormous task of helping our entire nation remember and celebrate the founding of American independence. She brings to that role a remarkable background of service and leadership. Rosie Rios served as the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, and her signature can be found on much of the nation's currency. Throughout her career, she has been a trailblazer in highlighting the contributions of Americans to our history, and she's now leading the effort to ensure our semi-quincentennial is meaningful for all Americans. We are thrilled to have Ms. Rios with us here today as we mark our own piece of the 250th anniversary. Her presence underscores the connection between our local history and the broader American story. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Rosie Rios.
Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be here today on this sacred ground. I want to begin by thanking Doug Vicente and the Lexington 250 Commission for bringing us all together. And I especially want to recognize the men and women of the United States Army for helping us commemorate this day in such an extraordinary fashion. Your own 250th anniversary on June 14th will be remembered by all of us. As chair of America 250, I have the privilege of helping lead our nation's commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And over the next 14 months, we will honor the full journey of our nation, from the first shots fired here in Lexington to the signing of the Declaration in 1776, and the many defining chapters that have shaped our American story. You know, for me, this is personal. To watch the choir perform this morning, I think I was their age at the time of the bicentennial in 1976. And for me, it's not a memory, it's a feeling. And so to be here in Lexington, to see the reenactments, to see families and communities here, feeling what I felt in 1976 and hopefully what we're all going to feel today on to 2026 is such an important lesson for all of us. This is as much about the future as it is the past, and how we inspire this next generation of leadership is my goal. I want as many Americans as possible to feel like this is the land of opportunity all over again. Thank you. And I'm doing this for my mom. So my mom, who raised all 9 of us as a single parent in the Bay Area, somehow sent all 9 of us off to college. That is the American dream. And our nation's 250th anniversary is an opportunity to reflect on the past, but also ask ourselves, who do we want to be 250 years from now? And what are the ideas from our founding that still hold us together as Americans, where we can take some lessons from the Battle Green? What happened here on April 19th, 1775, was a story about people who risked everything, as did my mom, not because they all agreed on every issue, but because they believed in the right to shape their own future. They weren't professional soldiers. They were ordinary people who believed that freedom was worth defending. They were willing to step forward in a time of uncertainty to serve something greater than ourselves and than themselves. These qualities are still with us. And for those same convictions that are what part of what makes us all Americans. And now as we look ahead to the nation's 250th anniversary in 2026, and by the way, I still carry my bicentennial quarter everywhere I go, one of the most important things we can do is to remember and retell those stories that connect us. In the years ahead, there will be many opportunities for 350 million Americans to take part in this historical milestone. Never forget that, 350 for 250. That has never happened before. But it is organizations like Lex250, it is community activities like we saw this morning, what we'll continue to see on in Concord, what we will continue to see in this great Commonwealth moving forward, what we will continue to see at the national level, where there will be many America 250 tentpole programs that will encourage you to engage with each other and what we can do as a country moving forward. You can find more of that information on america250.org. If our nation's 250th anniversary is going to mean something, it needs to be for all Americans. It needs to reflect the spirit of Lexington that showed not just 250 years ago, but right here, right now, through all the family and community activities that are happening here today, through your commitment to history, your civic pride, and your sense to community and the values on which our country was founded. It is communities like this that will inspire the rest of the country and perhaps the world to follow your lead on this journey, to remind us of what it means to be the oldest democracy in the world. So as we rededicate this historic ground, let's also rededicate ourselves to building a country worthy of the sacrifices that created our great nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rios. It is now my honor to introduce the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. Governor Healey is a lifelong public servant and leader who exemplifies the spirit of this day. As Governor of our Commonwealth, she has had a tremendous effect on the semi-quincentennial of Lexington. She's been a huge supporter of all the historic communities across Lexington. From day one, Governor Healey has shown a deep commitment to honoring our history while building a bright future, a future worthy of these sacrifices we've discussed already. We're deeply grateful for Governor Healey to be with us on this historic morning. Her presence highlights the importance of Lexington's role in the birth of our nation and reaffirms the Commonwealth's dedication to the ideals that were fought here. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Governor Maura Healey.
Good afternoon, Lexington. Good afternoon, Massachusetts. Good afternoon and welcome. Rosie, your presence here is testament to the significance of this 250th anniversary of our great nation, and also testament to the recognition that it all began right here, Massachusetts. The DAG, the Select Board, Lex250, all the volunteers and residents who've worked so hard to make this possible. I hope you take a moment to look around and take this in. Thank you, Minutemen. I know it's taken months of planning and preparation. I know many of you have been up since very early in the morning, some of you even taking on musket fire. But thank you. On behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, thank you. to our incredible leader in Congress, Catherine Clark. Thank you for all you do each and every day for people across Massachusetts, but more so, people across this country. To my teammate, our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll, to our legislative leaders, Senator Friedman, Rep. Sicolo, Senator Barrett, Rep. Gordon, and others, our District Attorney, Marion Ryan, our Consul General, David Clay, and our British friends, thank you for being here. Leaders from our tourism sector, Kate Fox, Martha Sheridan, thank you. Thank you to those in uniform and those not in uniform who have served or continue to serve this great country. I want everyone in Massachusetts on this day to know, Massachusetts, we're the birthplace of the National Guard, going strong, 388 years on. We're the birthplace of the United States Navy. We're the birthplace of the U.S. Coast Guard. You are direct descendants of the Minutemen and the Massachusetts militia that we celebrate and honor today. We are grateful to all the men and women, veterans, service members, military families, Gold Star wives, mothers, all who serve and defend our freedom through the ages. Thank you. Now right here, on this beautiful piece of grass, the world changed forever. Long before the first shots were fired, it was a symbol of local democracy. It was a town common. It was a place to gather. It was a place to train. And it was a space for all to share and benefit from. But on this day in 1775, it became something else. The birthplace of American democracy. Forged in defense of freedom and the right to self-government, sanctified by the loss of 8 men and all those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the days and years and centuries who followed. I'm so proud, so privileged to be here today as we commemorate, consecrate, rededicate this battle green. There's no more important place right now in American history than this field. And there's no better place for anyone in the world to be or to visit than right here. People who want to understand the values that this country was founded upon, the freedoms that make this country great, you're in the right place. I think of John Hancock and Sam Adams, targeted directly by the king, and staying right here in Lexington the eve before the battle. I also think about those two because they became governor, both of them. And while some would say they may not have imagined that a woman governor would be here with them, or a woman representing us in Congress, I don't think that's true. Because fundamentally, what these people rose up and fought for and defied a king and a mighty army for was freedom. Freedom, possibility, opportunity for everyone of every station in life. I also think of Prince Estabrook, the enslaved man who stepped forward to fight for, to defend the freedom that he and many others would long be denied. I think of Captain John Parker and his famous words inscribed in the rock over there on Bedford Street. Remember what it says? Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have war, let it begin here. Let it begin here. Words. Let it begin here. Words not of aggression, but of determination, rooted in a community-wide understanding that freedom, liberty was at stake. And freedom was, is, and always is worth standing up for. These words ring true and alive for us today because every generation has the duty to defend and advance freedom. In Massachusetts, the generations that followed the Minutemen led the movements that brought freedom to all in our country. The fight to resist and end slavery, the fight for women's suffrage and universal suffrage, the fight for health care and education, equality, so much more. And in Massachusetts, as we commemorate these events and sacred spaces, we will rededicate ourselves to the cause of freedom today. Not just because it's rooted in our past, in our DNA, but because it's alive in our hearts. It's who we are, and it is our hope for the future. It's what we owe to those who came before us in Lexington, and it is what we owe to the generations that follow. So let it begin here. Let it begin. Let it begin by staying engaged, by supporting community. Let it begin by defending the freedom to speak and not be punished or jailed. Let it begin by defending the freedom of the press and an independent judiciary. Let it begin in the way these brave men and women from Lexington and beyond stepped forward one morning to face a mighty empire and tyranny. Let it begin, Lexington, right here. God bless Massachusetts. God bless the great United States of America.
Our next guest connects our ceremony today with the citizen soldiers who stood here in 1775 and to the men and women in uniform who defend our freedom today. I'm proud to introduce Brigadier General Mark Kalin, the Land Component Commander of the Massachusetts Army National Guard. Brigadier General Kalin joins us today representing the United States Army, which itself is celebrating its 250th anniversary. In fact, the U.S. Army traces its origins to the very events that began here in Lexington, and General Kalin's presence reminds us of the enduring bond between this town and those who serve in uniform. General Kalin has been a key partner in bringing the Army's special commemorative participation to Lexington for this semi-quincentennial. In a few moments, he will preside over a ceremony honoring the Army's history, including a presentation of the Lexington Battle Streamer to symbolize this battle's place in the Army's legacy. We are honored to have him with us here today to represent the military's past, present, and future on this important day. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Brigadier General Mark Kalin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Governor Healy. It is my honor to mark the 250th anniversary of the shot heard around the world, and also the rededication of the Lexington Battle Streamer to the United States Army colors. Today we remember more than just dates and battles. We remember to celebrate the American fighting spirit which was unveiled to the world right here on April 19th, 1775. And that spirit was galvanized into a professional fighting force on June 14th, 1775, when the Continental Congress created a unified army drawn from the colonial militia, formed to take up arms and forge a new nation. The Army was born from and built by citizen soldiers who answered the initial call at Lexington. Among these militia units was the 1st Battalion, 181st Infantry Regiment, which traces its lineage directly to those early patriots in the North Regiment who took the field here 250 years ago. From its earliest days as part of General Washington's fledgling force, carrying the weight of the Revolution on its shoulders, the Army continued the fight for independence at the Battle of Trenton, in the snows of Valley Forge, and during the Siege of Yorktown, turning the tide of history. The Army story did not end there. Across centuries and continents, in every conflict our nation has faced, from the Argonne to Normandy and Baghdad, the Army has stood as a symbol of discipline, courage, and commitment. Its colors fly high, always reminding us that freedom is not free. When you look at the Army colors here in a moment, you'll see the battle streamers. From the Revolution to today, each streamer tells a story for soldiers who stood their ground, fighting for freedom and liberty. The Army is not measured in campaigns and decorations alone. The legacy and history of the Army continues today in every soldier, past and present. It is written in the character of those who wear the uniform, the quiet professional, fiercely loyal to one another, and willing to sacrifice for something greater than themselves. As we celebrate 250 years of Army history, we honor the past not by remembering it, but by living up to it. The same values that led our forefathers across frozen tundra, through dense jungles, across scorching deserts, and into enemy fire still guide us today. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. May the Army always remain the guardian of American freedom. Thank you so much. Nations first. This will defend.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the United States Army's patriotic performance commemorating the events of 19 April 1775 here on Lexington's famous Battle Green. As a result of the heroic actions that day, the United States Army would eventually be awarded its first battle streamer. It is a tapestry of rich design, deeply hued with the blood of soldiers, and embroidered with deeds of bravery, service, and sacrifice. It is a heritage recounting valor and dedication to the ideals of duty, honor, and love of country, which brought our independence into being and preserves it to this very day. The flag of the United States Army stands as a symbol of the nation it protects. Today, to honor soldiers past and present, we reaffix the Lexington battle streamer to our Army flag. The host for today's ceremony is Brigadier General Mark Kaland, Land Component Commander, Massachusetts Army National Guard.
The American paratrooper, born of fire in the skies of World War II, more than 80 years ago, has since struck fear and terror in the hearts of those foolish enough to oppose them. relentless in their skill and courage, not only in the air, but also on the ground. These brave for themselves America's hearts. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Specialist Sloan Cannett, originally from Beverly Hills, Michigan. It is my proud honor to narrate for you today a demonstration of precision freefall as performed by members of your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. At this time, members of the Black demonstration team are circling high overhead in our distinctively painted C-147 aircraft at an altitude of 4,500 feet. The jump master is actually looking out the left door of the aircraft. His head is outside in the wind and the cold. Through a series of hand and arm signals, he is relaying heading corrections to our pilot, maneuvering the aircraft to a precise exit point for the jumpers. Watch closely as you may see the nose of the aircraft move slightly left or right in response to the steering instructions. The aircraft has been slowed to a safe exit speed of 120 miles per hour, the same speed as a freefall parachutist at terminal velocity. The United States Army Parachute Team was formed in 1959 at the home of the airborne, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. At that time, the team consisted of 19 original members. Each was selected to assist in the development of modern parachuting techniques to provide world-class competition parachutists and to perform live aerial demonstrations in support of Army public relations and recruiting. In 1961, we were designated the Army's official aerial demonstration unit. Please direct your attention high overhead. Our jumpers are out and the show is on. As our team descends on the historic Lexington Battle Green, they will deliver the Lexington Battle Streamer to where it was earned 250 years ago today. The parachutes used by the Golden Knights are flexible wing gliders. Constructed of lightweight ripstop nylon, these parachutes have an inherent forward airspeed of up to 22 miles per hour. To turn left, the jumper pulls down on the left steering line. To turn right, the jumper simply pulls down on the right steering line. And as jumpers near the ground, they will pull down on both steering lines simultaneously for the safest and softest possible landing. Now, as you may have guessed, these jumpers are faced with a unique situation, a traffic jam in the sky. They must gain vertical separation to allow for individual approaches into the target area. This is accomplished by pulling down on the front part of the parachute and spiraling down at speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. It takes a great deal of concentration to land dead center on the target. The jumper keeps a close eye on the windsock located in the target area. At 2,000 feet, these jumpers can hear you very well. Let them know where you are. Watch as this jumper makes minor corrections to obtain a beautiful target area landing. These jumpers train year-round on piloting their parachutes, but they always seem to fly better when they can hear the roar of a Lexington crowd. Moments ago, these jumpers were more than 2 miles overhead, thanks in part to the advanced aerodynamic design of of the wind and land safely. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our performance for the day. And on behalf of the entire team, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being such a warm and receptive airborne audience. In closing, I leave you with this final thought. In the future, may all your days be prosperous and your nights golden.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, your United States Army Golden Knights! Now approaching the field is the commander of troops for today's ceremony, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Van Gel, Commander, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, accompanied by the United States Army Continental Color Guard and soldiers representing the generations of great Americans who have served in the United States Army from 1775 to the present day. Escorting the colors is Command Sergeant Major Adolfo Dominguez, Command Sergeant Major, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard! we ask that you please rise as the colors are presented and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Please be seated. On June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress authorized the formation of an army. That date marked the official birth of the United States Army. Yet, 2 months prior to that, on April 19th, here on Lexington Green, American militia, the famous Minutemen, stood against the British Army. At that time, the most powerful in the world, and shed the first blood in defense of American liberty. Those militiamen would drive the British soldiers back to Boston and lay siege to the city. And they would form the nucleus to the American Army that would go on to win our nation's freedom. This year, as we celebrate the United States Army's 250th birthday, we reflect on the courage and sacrifice of American soldiers, past and present, who have guaranteed that hard-won freedom. The Army, older than the nation itself, continues to be America's force of decisive action. It stands as a shining light around the world in the cause of liberty. Today, we reaffix our first campaign streamer, Lexington, to the Army's flag. Sergeant First Class Michael Heath, who jumped in the Lexington streamer with the Golden Knights, now presents it to our first soldier. American soldiers today are deployed around the globe in defense of freedom, working with our sister services, allies, and partners to guarantee our liberties as they always have. From the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan, American soldiers fought to eliminate terrorism and restore the principles to democracy, while continuing to defend our borders and protect America's citizens. Leading the Allied coalition to a swift and overwhelming victory in Operation Desert Storm, Army soldiers supplied the thunder and lightning to repel a tyrant from the nation of Kuwait. For 5 decades, from the end of World War II to the fall of the Berlin Wall, American soldiers waged a Cold War to deter our adversaries and prevent the horrors of nuclear war. As the Cold War flared hot in Southeast Asia, another cohort of America's soldiers were called to duty and served with honor and distinction in the dense jungles and mountain plateaus of Vietnam. The first conflict with communism in the post-World War II era ignited in Korea in 1950. American soldiers preserved in incredibly harsh conditions as they fought through the frozen valleys and steep mountains of the Korean peninsula. America's greatest generation answered their nation's call to duty in World War II, storming the beaches and parachuting into the flooded plains of Normandy in Europe to conquer the Nazi regime, while seizing the Pacific Theater from the Japanese Empire. Called to make the world safe for democracy, the American doughboys of World War I fought through the horrific conditions of trench warfare to assure victory in what became known as the War to End All Wars. With America's very existence at stake, hundreds of thousands volunteered for the Union cause during the Civil War, preserving our nation and bringing a new birth of freedom and liberty to our country. In the War of 1812, the young American Republic called upon its army to repel British forces that threatened Washington, D.C. and Baltimore in the summer of 1814. American regulars and militia withstood a terrific 24-hour bombardment at a small post called Fort McHenry, their bravery inspiring Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. This liberty that all these great American soldiers fought for was the bedrock upon which our army was formed. The Minutemen, who stood on this green 250 years ago, were not professional soldiers. They were farmers and tradesmen. Facing the power of the British Army, they knew well what they were up against. As was said in the Declaration of Independence, they were willing to sacrifice their lives and their fortunes for what they believed. Proud units like the 1st Battalion, 181st Infantry Regiment of the Massachusetts National Guard trace their lineage to the heroes of the Battle of Lexington. The Minutemen and militia formed the basis of the Continental Army that was created in June 1775. We reaffix this precious Lexington streamer to our Army flag, baptized in the blood that was shed here on April 19, 1775, dedicated to maintaining the principles that make our country and our Army great. Now moving forward to attach the streamer to the colors is our host and officiating officer, Brigadier General Mark Kalin. Ladies and gentlemen, defenders of liberty at home and abroad for the last 250 years, your United States Army! A unit's colors are the heart of the organization. They are a living symbol of pride, honor, in history and traditions of that command. The colors serve as an inspiration and rallying point to soldiers engaged in combat. Their care and preservation are entrusted to only the finest soldiers in an organization, and it has always been considered the highest of honors to bear the unit's colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors. Please be seated. The origin of American military music can be traced to the fifers and drummers of the Revolutionary War. This musical heritage is represented today by the soldiers of the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. The active duty soldiers of today's Fife and Drum Corps wear uniforms patterned after those of General Washington's Continental Army. In order to be easily identified, military musicians wore the reverse colors of the regiment to which they were assigned. At that time, American infantry soldiers wore blue coats with red facings. Thus, the musicians wore red coats with blue facings. The soldier musicians of today's Fife and Drum Corps honor the soldiers of the past by displaying the discipline, professionalism, and precision of the United States Army to audiences around the globe. nation's Army is and always has been committed to upholding the Constitution of the United States and defending the liberties, values, and traditions that define us as a nation. And for 250 years, the American soldier has and always will answer this call. As the Corps concludes their performance, they wish to honor the unwavering character and discipline of the American soldier, past and present, through their signature troop step, set to the traditional American melody, Shenandoah. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard Fight Drum Corps!